This is going to shock you, but I sold my Amazon brand. That's right. I lost over $250,000 last year, and I decided somebody else might be able to run this better.
I have so many questions.
I chose the wrong products, and I paid the consequence of that. Ask yourself, how much money am I willing to lose to prove myself wrong? I bought the dream house with the nice cars, money in the bank. I've got 5 kids in a pile. There is something that is far greater than all of that, and that is
Stephen Pope.
International thought leader.
He's a former reporter who founded
one of the fastest growing Amazon agencies.
My Amazon guy.
He is known all over the world.
Who's an expert on Amazon.
I've never seen the Amazon community so upset. Amazon's going to continue maximizing its investment. We saw this in every sector, from railroads to oil to when Walmart put all the mom and pops out of business. Our only chance at Amazon being knocked off monopoly status is the I can't believe I have to say that out loud.
Is Amazon still a gold mine?
I think it's up for debate. Just show up and win aspect is gone. There's no way you could just pick a rando product and throw it up on Amazon and make money. You have to. In the blood of good Amazon sellers, tenacity and grit. And if you don't have tenacity and grit to overcome the you're done. What I discovered over the last 6 years of running a $20 million agency is that.
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace. Today, we have the great fortune of having the wonderful Stephen Pope, the founder of My Amazon Guy, and he has a very interesting story to share, which I think anybody that is on Amazon should hear, because it is important to talk about these things openly, transparently, and honestly when you are selling on Amazon. Too many gurus say you should do this or you should do that or things should be like this. But let's hear it from the mouth of somebody who's been in the trenches, still in the trenches, and has a lot of interesting experiences to share. So let me introduce you to Stephen Pope. Welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you.
So I saw something on the interwebs the other day, and you were sharing your story about your brand Age of Sage.
It's a sad one.
But there's redemption, right? Let's do that story arc. That's sad, but there's redemption. There's an arc there that I think a lot of people will find interesting, because a lot of the advice that we hear today is that you should do this and you should do PPC this way and you should, position yourself that way. So you shared, I want to share with our audience just a little clip of that so they get a little taste of this, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
All right. Sounds good. This is going to shock you, but I sold my Amazon brand. That's right. I've been losing money on my Amazon brand. I lost over $250,000 last year selling Age of Sage products. And I decided, I think somebody else might be able to run this better.
I was like this. I was in this chair and I was like, that was my reaction. I didn't know what to do with myself. I really didn't. I have so many questions. So I hope you're ready.
We'll see. Let me take out of my first band cup. Look for the light.
Amazon is such a struggle. What I want to ask you first, is Amazon still a gold mine, or are we in a new era where the gold rush is over?
That is a good question. Whether it's a gold mine or not, I think it's up for debate. It's definitely still got some copper and nickel in there, which is worth going after. That's kind of how I would first impression respond to that. Amazon is not passive income, and it's still very difficult, but it always has been. The difference today, though, is a lot of the free ride or just show up and win aspect is gone. That's for sure gone, right? Like, there's no way you could just pick a rando product, lookalike, Me Too, Alibaba Lite, and throw it up on Amazon and make money. That just cannot work anymore. You have to do some actual product dev. You got to know something. And that's really kind of the main thesis that I was trying to get out there, is that I'm a super marketer, but I'm not a super sourcer. I'm not a super operator when it came to the brand. And so I chose the wrong products, and I paid the consequence of that. Amazon on Black Friday, they're just like, boom, all of your parody tumblers. I've got a couple on my desk here. My This Is the Way, my Look for the Light. my Starbucks cups, all of them, every single one of them removed from Amazon.
Oh my
They
goodness.
yanked my brand registry, and they're just like, "You're done, sir."
It's there's so much that we could go in and put a mile long list on what's deficient at Amazon. Like just the other day, we saw missing images on a lot of products, the secondary images. The main one was there, but all the secondary one. Turns out there are no notifications when that happens as of today. Hopefully, I know that there are Amazon people that listen to this. Amazon, if you're listening, please give us some better notifications. But like you're saying, things happen and they're happening even faster, Steve. It's just like, it used to be somewhat of some calm waters and you can expect some storms. Now it's very choppy. It's just choppy a lot. And like you said, you got to be a good operator. Would you say that's the key right now on Amazon, is being a good operator of your business on Amazon?
Not that anybody wants to hear more about the aggregators, but I think they're a good case study on how if you're only good at Excel wizardry, you can't sell on Amazon effectively, right? Like what's in the blood of good Amazon sellers historically has always been tenacity and grit. And if you don't have tenacity and grit to overcome the bullshit that Amazon puts you through, the first brick wall, you're done. You're done. You can't get past that first brick wall, right? And that's what happened. We saw even big companies like Thrasio, they didn't even restock their best sellers. That's how dysfunctional they became so fast. So Amazon sellers have always had to be scrappy. They've always had to figure out how to find the worm in the morning, even if it hasn't rained. And it has produced. It's always produced. And Amazon still does produce. It's still half the economy in the United States. There's no question of whether you should be on Amazon. The question is just how and what and where do you take your right products at the right time to find the consumer. So some of the mistakes that I made, I think are repairable. I think are preventable. And so the reason why I'm sharing some of my mistakes is because I know that if I share my road rash, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to help the next guy not make the same mistake. And two, it's going to make me lots of money, because when people start sharing their stories and saying, "Hey, this is what I've done, here's my story," and that authenticity, it translates to more people signing up for my agency at My Amazon Guy. And that's what I've always found to be true. And that's why I take that position as an education company.
And, I think what is also true is that this is way more difficult than people make it seem to be. So I've heard people say, "Oh, it's easy." No, it's not. It's easy if you are selling something you have a complete side hustle that is like a weekend hobby. And I really, when I was thinking about our conversation today, and, there's different types of sellers. If you're in this to, get some of your merchandise off out of your house or your garage and sell on the weekend, you can kind of take your time fumbling through it. But if you're a professional and you're going into this to make money as a living, you have to treat it like there's nothing else in the world that matters in terms of getting my product launched, sustaining, and growing. It is not a weekend hobby. I want to echo what you say about that, because it is not passive income. For anybody that's listening to this, it is not passive income. And Stephen is a good example. You do not treat this like passive income.
You can't treat it like passive income. The moment you do that, then you make big, giant mistakes. You make assumptions, and then you stop paying attention, right? Now, during my favorite time of making money on Amazon as a product seller, I took a trip to China. I was doing my reorders from my mobile phone, sitting at the Chinese circus, watching some dancing bears. And it was this moment in time, I'm like, man, I've made it. This is amazing. Well, the thing about that is, if I could do that while sitting in China, who else could also be doing that? The Chinese, for starters. Then all of a sudden, Pakistan got its uprising and could sell on Amazon, and then all the retail arbitrage aspects and resell.
We'll go into that, because I want to talk about reselling and retail arbitrage. Don't give that too much away, because I want to jump back into that in a little bit.
All right, so I've got some of my soaps here. I started to launch ridiculous things, right? Like the thing that you have to do is ask yourself, how much money am I willing to lose to prove myself wrong, right? And this is an example of one of my worst soap choices. I came out and I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll launch something for teenagers. So I did dirty socks, right? I did swole and the pimple popper, right? just some ridiculous.
I love your sense of humor with all these products.
Oh, it gets better. And then there's monkey farts.
Oh my God. That's
so I did this teenage box. Would you like to guess how many of sets of these that I sold?
I have zero idea, but tell me.
Less than 50. I bought over 1,000 units. And so that was a big, just a big monkey fart right there.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I wish I had a monkey fart noise. I do have another noise.
Where's the monkey fart?
This is not going to work, Steven.
No, it was a terrible, terrible launch. Now, I also have a lot of really good ones, and I did quite well selling, some traditional men's scents, right? Like that was my best. And I was like, oh man, then if this works, then surely this other thing will work, right? And that's the number one trap I see a lot of sellers do is they get into SKU expansion, but they do it horizontally instead of vertically. They expand the same soap into 100 cents instead of selling the soap plus, I don't know, the deodorant, right? And if we look at other brands out there that have made that transposition, they've done quite well. Now, there's also counter arguments. You could pull up Dude Wipes right now, and his LinkedIn feed and the CEO of Dude Wipes is like all day long. We tried to expand in these other categories and realized we're just a wipe company, right?
Right.
But when you're first starting out, I would say multiple variations of the same product is inferior to product expansion. So hopefully that's a takeaway for somebody as they are thinking about, well, should I get 3 cents or should I get 1 cent and try 2 other products? Without a doubt in my mind, I would try 3 unique products.
And I think you're getting at the heart of what I really want to ask you, which is profitability. Being profitable is a difficult task. And I talked a couple of months ago to a former Amazonian. His name is Nick Gazar. And he said something to me that I will never, ever forget coming from somebody that worked at Amazon. He said this. He said, you must be profits obsessed as a seller on Amazon because Amazon's not going to be profits obsessed for you. They want profits for themselves. But being profits obsessed as a seller has to be at the core of what you are doing on Amazon. Otherwise, is it 3 variations, 1 variation, vertical expansion? It has to make sense, dollars and cents at the end of the day, and not just top line sales. Like people like throwing that, I'm a 7-figure seller. I'm an 8-figure seller. I'm a 200-figure seller, right?
Who cares?
Who cares? Because at the end of the day, whether you're 7 figures, 6 figures, or 10 figures, if you're not putting money into the bank that you can take home with you after you pay the tax man, pay the warehouse people, pay the payroll, give Amazon what they're due, it doesn't matter. You won't be in business very long.
Yeah, I mean, I could look at my mobile app right now and be like, "Oh, look at my big bar chart," and it makes you feel good, right?
A lot of people like putting there that. Yeah, look at that, 7 figures, woohoo!
Yeah, but if you're not even closing as much as you could make on a full-time job, then what's the point? You're just working for Amazon at that point, right?
100%. And I got something that I want to share with you that highlights how difficult this task is. Just looking at top line numbers, or show us that infographic. This is from Marketplace Pulse just a couple years ago. At the very top of the pyramid, roughly around 50-ish sellers, 0.003 are at that 100 million or more. But slide all the way down to the bottom. 23% or so of the about 3 million-ish, we don't know the exact number of sellers, but somewhere in that neighborhood, only 23% represent making 100,000 just in sales. And if you were to take the profits out of that, that's not enough to live on. It really is not. You got to climb up that pyramid if you are planning on making a living in. And if it were that easy to be even in the $1 million seller, look at that, around 4% of sellers, Stephen. And then you jump up to the 5 million. I think that's the 5 million is when you're in a different stratosphere now, and you're hitting on all cylinders. You're finding that expansion that you're talking about, or the vertical integration, or the ecosystem, and you maybe have a team or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 people behind you. But look at that less than 1% get to that 5 million mark. That shows you how difficult it is on Amazon.
I was reading an article the other day about how to go upstream as an agency. And if that chart, you study that, you start to ask yourself questions. Okay, how many of those are enterprise accounts? How many of those are mid-market? How many of those are small to medium business? And predominantly, like most of the people that I serve at my Amazon guy, we have about 400 clients. Almost all of them would be considered SMB, small to medium business. And it's a very different model and a lot bigger of a pie that we saw in that pyramid. And sometimes Amazon feels like a pyramid scheme, I swear. But like, it's interesting to see that there's not a whole lot of mid-market and enterprise going on in Amazon. There's just not. And so if you want to be serving that customer base, you got to be outside of Amazon if you're running an agency, which is an interesting thought by itself. But I also look at this as kind of job security in a way, right? Like Amazon is always going to exist. We said that about Blockbuster and a lot of other Kodak companies too.
Yeah.
But like the concept, the marketplace concept will always exist unless we go hyper local and 15-minute cities. But that's for another debate. So in the meantime, though, the model is proven. It's very successful. I wish that there were other partners out there, other marketplaces that could give Amazon a run for its monopoly. But there is some good to the monopoly as well, right? 1-day shipping, 2-day shipping, Prime this, Prime that across the country. There is not a second delivery system that can match Amazon today. Not even
there
close.
isn't. Not even close. Walmart would be the second closest. But you know what's interesting about what you just said, Stephen, is that Amazon, somebody said this and I thought, oh, this is fascinating. Amazon is really becoming more and more of a logistics company. You think about hundreds of warehouses. They have trucks, they have planes, they have the ability to move packages. And now they are receiving your packages as a business in direct competition to UPS and FedEx. And so their growth, I think, will come more from that logistics side to move things around the country, more so than the market. The marketplace is a thing for them, but the logistics is a way to pull things around through their system.
If Amazon is a logistics company, I just have one question. Why do they send my 5-pound hot sauce bottle in padded envelopes? I just want to know. Because like when I launched this and I had 1,000 of these, I shipped them to Amazon, paid them to do the prep work. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to bubble wrap it. They did that. Then they're going to put the FNSKU sticker on. They did that. But then they sent it out in padded envelopes. They didn't box it. Like, what the frick? So I don't know if Amazon could be qualified as a logistics company. Now,
maybe not maybe not like a prep company. That may not be their forte, like you said.
Yep. But here's an interesting fact. They make more money now today on AWS, on PPC spend on Amazon than they do
100%.
from fulfillment fees, which is probably why they announced more fulfillment fees. And now you got to send to multiple locations or we're tacking on more fees.
Well, you know, that is a really big discussion. If you belong to any Amazon seller group, Facebook or any, the fees, I'm hearing more fines being used as the word to describe the new fees. They're fines. You know, if you have too low of inventory, you have too much inventory. On both sides of the spectrum, you're going to get dinged. Too much inventory, storage fees, right?
Yep.
Too low now, you're going to get hit as well with fees. So I think as one of those things that is going to come into the mix, your story about profitability. How do you become profitable when you're right now, if nothing changes, you're going to get dinged on both the upper end, lower end, and in between, moving things around in and out of Amazon?
I've never seen the Amazon community so upset than this year in 2024, right? Like there's upsetness about when they couldn't ship stuff in or storage limits. And we heard the rounds of upsetness, but this current round is going to knock some people out. Hell, it knocked me out, right? I was already going to be knocked out for other reasons, but like the ability to find a 25% gross margin at a bare minimum to start before you get down to the 10 to 15 net is an important concept to really chase nowadays. Right now, Grocery sellers, I don't even know how they could even potentially survive on Amazon today. I have no idea, right? Like I tested it out. I tried a hot sauce and man, I couldn't take the heat.
And what
So
are your clients telling you about that? Because that's a really interesting point there to what you're talking about. You have 400 plus clients, and I'm sure they're coming to you with like, Steven, how's this going to work, right? I'm barely surviving or whatever. What's the feedback from your clients on this specific topic?
So we're always asked to come up with the strategy and the direction and the vision, and sometimes we don't know the answers yet. And this is one of those times we just simply have no idea how this is going to play out. We're collecting the data, we're putting our ear to the ground, and we're trying to find out. I don't know, to be honest. I think Amazon is going to have to change the policies because it's going to knock so many people out. It's going to knock too many out, and Amazon's going to have to retool itself. I think that their competitors, TikTok and Temu, I can't believe I have to say that out loud, right? Like I really just don't like the fact that our only chance at Amazon being knocked off monopoly status is the Chinese government. Like that is not a good thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better than nothing in some regards. But without some competition, without some damage to their own profit and loss statement, Amazon's going to continue doing what it's doing, which is maximizing its investment, which is taking leverage off the table, right? We saw this in every sector known to man that's ever occurred, from railroads to oil to when Walmart went in and put all the mom and pops out of business. Scale and then leverage, right? Scale first, then take the leverage. And that's what Amazon's doing. You can say Amazon has entered its maturity phase. Right now, it's going to go all in on profit from here on out. And they're going to maximize every profit dollar that they possibly can. Now, are there some interim solutions? Are there some tenacity and grit we can throw at the windshield here to see what sticks? Yes, we can look at using Amazon's own logistics company to avoid some of these fees, which means turn more of your business over to the monopoly. We can say, hey, diversify your portfolio and launch a Shopify site. But in reality, nobody does that. A lot of people say they do, but in reality, they don't actually sell even 10%, maybe even 3% of what they do on Amazon on an alternative platform like Shopify. And it's interesting to see that, like, we're always having, like, we hold our breath. We see Shopify is hitting it hard, and all of a sudden they're not able to compete with Amazon. And then all of a sudden Shopify and Amazon get in bed together because they're both worried about TikTok and Temu. Right.
So, and they waved the white flag. ShipStation. My brain went to ShipStation next, but Shopify bought a logistics company, saw how difficult, how hard, how
very hard,
unprofitable it can be to be in the logistics business, to then sell it at a much lower price than what they originally bought. It is like, we're done with this. Let's get out of that. Let's go back to talking to Amazon, like you said. It is so hard. I mean, TikTok only has a handful of warehouses right now, right, to do fulfillment. They've got a long road to climb. I mean, Walmart structurally has the bones.
Should have been able to.
Right. They structurally, they have smart people. They've been in the retail business for a long time, but Amazon has a huge advantage on them. And I'm not sure. This is the thing that I'm not sure. Amazon has that DNA about them where they're, testing, tinkering, experimenting. How do we get better? How do we change that? And Amazon Walmart is still in the retail business, which is slower, longer time frame. You build it little by little, block by block, which is completely different than Amazon.
I basically wrote off Walmart because Walmart bought Jet, I don't know, 7 years ago, 6 years? I don't even know. They did nothing with it. They couldn't integrate the tech with their POS, right? Their POS was a POS. And so they literally don't know how to use the tech. They don't know how to operate as a marketplace. You've never, ever heard of the concept of a native-born Walmart brand, and you never will. Every day, a new brand is born on Amazon. Why? Because if you pay to play, you pick up the advertising, you could be a #1 bestseller in the first 30 days, get a badge, and sell thousands of units. You cannot do that on any other platform. You cannot do that on Walmart. You cannot do that on Target, Shopify. Nowhere can you do this unless you have a multi-million view count TikTok viral reel and you're selling I don't what is, the slime, like I've seen stuff like that. But like unless you have a viral hit like that, which the Chinese are going to knock off anyway, and you can't sustain post viral, then you can't grow that fast, and you can't natively build an entire brand on one of those platforms. But what I will say is this: for the brands that do succeed outside of Amazon, it's a very different picture. It's a very different world for them because they don't have to rely upon Amazon. They don't have to pay all the fees. But we've also seen what happened to first party sellers on Amazon in Vendor Central, where every year it was like highway robbery, where they increased the fees, they made it harder for you. And today I was forwarded over a proposal from Amazon to one of my 1P clients who said, Amazon is asking us $250,000 for premium A+ content. Is it worth that, Stephen? And I said, no, you get it for free on 3P. On Seller Central, right? So like there's like that's the level of ripped offness that Amazon is doing to vendors and sellers alike. And we're now starting to see the 1P treatment, which has been like that for years, enter into the 3P network arena. So I would say this: if you could count on anything from Amazon as a 3P seller, is that it's always going to get harder. There's always going to be more and more increased fees. So the only thing that you can do as a seller is shrinkflation, raise your prices, inflation, or find and discover new products and keep yourself nimble and innovative while also never putting all of your eggs in one basket. Don't get a warehouse and then being sucked into the world of logistics as well.
You said on your video that, and we only showed literally like 20 seconds. Later on in that video, you said something about the warehouse business that I also heard a good friend of ours, mutual friend Chad Rubin, say years ago he got out of the warehouse business because he said, I gained weight, I almost lost my marriage, the state was coming down on me from false labor claims. Like he's like, no, not in the warehouse business anymore. And I heard you say,
yep, been there. Yeah, I paid $26,000 a month in warehouse fees. We invented a new way to manufacture gun holsters. We were cutting the soap directly in the warehouse, and basically we're a manufacturer and boxing it up and shipping it out. We were etching our tumblers in our manufacturing facility in our warehouse. But I got to tell you, it is so difficult to do all of that. You have to innovate. You have to buy the machines. You have to pay for the labor. Weather events happen and you're shutting down, right? Like all these things.
People stop coming into work.
It's just a lot of work. And I'm a marketer having to deal with this warehouse bullshit over here. And guess what? I wasn't good at it. I was pretty bad. and I had to hire a partner, and we just didn't work. It didn't work out as well as I thought it would.
Now, do you lean into that when you say, you know what? I'm not good at that area. Let's say I suck at sales. Right? I'm terrible. I hate the phones. I don't like talking to people. Do you recognize that, like, I'm in a general sense, should I as an entrepreneur recognize, accept that I'm suck at sales or I suck at this other area and say, I need help or I need somebody that can do that for me because I can't do it well?
I mean, you got two choices, right? Choice one, stop doing it, or choice two, get good at it. And there are certain people who decide choice two, where they focus on it and they get good at it. The challenge with that is it's slower, it's harder. You have to get some road rash. You have to go through all the pain and the bristling involved in some of that level of work. So it's significantly easier to just simply pivot. And there's a lot of debate about having multiple streams of income and diversified portfolios versus go all in on that one skill that makes you just world-class in the world. And for me, that one skill that just makes me world-class is iteration. Like my spirit animal is a hummingbird. I can iterate faster than anybody I know. If I have a meeting with my team and I'm like, by end of day, we're going to have results, they look at me like a deer in headlights. But it takes a couple of rotations where I train them how to keep up and how to iterate in real-time communication, like the Borg on Star Trek, and being able to articulate fast, small failures so quick that you're swimming from one location to the next. You're flapping your hummingbird wings so quickly, you can't see them. But if it's okay if you miss the nectar on that first flower, because there's 17 other flowers in that bush that you're going to hit in that same day, right? So that's where I've learned that I'm really good at. Now, as you pointed out, though, logistics and retail is the opposite of all of that, right? And I can't iterate how to manufacture something by the hour. That's very different than the digital world of marketing, where I can, my hands, my keyboard warrior hands, can type 125 words per minute and keep up with my iterating brain. But the warehouse is like, dude, an hour ago you told us to put these boxes over here, and now you're telling us to move them again. Yeah, I am, and it just doesn't work.
Let me give you something here.
Let's say that's the bad guy.
The warehouse is the bad guy. Yeah, I have no idea. Do you know where that's from?
I don't, but I'm also every warehouse ever has seen me as the bad guy. I'll tell you that right now.
One of my favorite movie with Al Pacino, Scarface. One of those lines.
Goodness.
He's in the restaurant and he's saying, "That's the bad guy," and he goes on with the rant. But you're so right. You know, warehouse is, and we've toyed with the idea of maybe because you want control at the end. You're like, that control comes at a big cost, not just monetarily, but emotionally, mentally. There's something there. And I remember years ago talking to and Chad shared this with me. I was like, oh my God. And it scared me half to death. And then as you grow, you're like, God damn it. Why can't we just have we could fix this in our warehouse? And you start falling in love with that concept. And I want to ask you about something that a lot of sellers, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, they fall in love with the idea of an entrepreneur being a fancy car. You know, maybe they've seen a lot of dude bro videos where, you know, these guys are racing around in cars and in planes, and they get the idea that, oh, I can do that too. It shouldn't be that hard because so-and-so did it. I want to show you something that I saw on the internet the other day that kind of exemplifies this. Ori, roll that video.
This is Kenzo. He's become a multi-millionaire at 19 selling products on Amazon.
You're making 200 G's a month. This listing, I'm pretty sure gross is about $550,000 a month. I have a Porsche GT3 RS, a Porsche Cayman S, SL65. I have a Ferrari F12 Berlinetta.
So you see this, if you're just, you know, at whether you're a beginner or you're further on, you're like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
What am I missing? This guy's got all the fancy cars, and he's doing this on Amazon. By the way, there's a longer video. He talks about selling all this stuff on Amazon. He showed his warehouse, $550 a month, but I want to know how much he's making on that $550.
Well, I mean, enough to buy those cars or at least lease them, right?
For right now.
Yeah, and I have to be careful here because I did show up on LinkedIn with the Lambo. I do own an R8 right now, so you know, and I paid cash for it. So it is possible, right? Like it is possible to win and win big on Amazon. But I'm sure you have some questions ready to roll here. But at the same time, it's a question of source of information. Like, should you buy a course from that guy? I don't know.
you don't know. Now he goes on to talk about his strategy is retail arbitrage, and you have some things to say about. Yep. We've done really well for years reselling, and I'll invoke my good friend Chad again. Him and I have butted heads on this topic of, you know, private label versus retail versus reselling, and you know, it's got its own headaches, right? Whether you're doing reselling or retail, there's nothing, you can't escape the problems of Amazon. You can't escape the challenges.
You can trade them for different problems, but yes.
And there may be a little bit less issues on some things or another. But you mentioned in your video that we showed earlier that, you know, you've pivoted and you've found a way that still allows you to, you know, be in the trenches with Amazon in obviously your agency, but, you know, doing some retail arbitrage because there's still a need for, you know, wipes and toothpaste and tweezers and other products, everyday products that people still need that can be found somewhere and put back on Amazon.
you could probably find some clips for me where I talk about how retail arbitrage is dead and you got to get into private label. Like you go back 4 years, 5 years in my YouTube feed, I guarantee you I say those things. And I'm in 2024 saying it's possible to do retail arbitrage and make more money doing that than doing private label, right? And that's antithetical to my agency position where I have entirely a portfolio of private label brands, right? So if the guy who is, got all incentive not to say the things I'm saying is saying this, that could give you a moment of pause, perhaps. But I currently am making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from retail arbitrage. And I don't have the headaches of brand registry being yanked or from all of my other challenges that I've already talked about, right? And all the product investment and the warehousing and all of those other things. But I did trade those problems for different problems, right? So now I have to focus entirely on sourcing said product. I have to worry about listing yanks or trademark infringement constraints. And those are the different problems that you'd have to face while doing retail arbitrage. Those are very, very different things, very, very different skill sets and different people required to manage those challenges and problems. I think
and I was just going to say, I want to jump in because something just came in. And I think that part, even though your agency is focused on 3PL, there's a ton of misinformation about retail arbitrage. There's a ton of misinformation because I see it and I hear it and people send it to me. A lot of misinformation about reselling as well. Those can be lucrative if done right. And those could be a source of where you are 100% going to be in the gutter if you don't do it right with your eyes wide open.
What they don't show the videos and content is the $100,000 of inventory that they bought and can't move, right? Like it's storing in the back of the warehouse where we're not going to take the cameras, right?
That's been collecting dust for months.
I am fortunate to say that I don't have any inventory I can't move in under 90 days at this very moment. But I guarantee you before the year is out, that'll change. It's just inevitable, right? Law of big numbers. Something will happen. A listing will get yanked. We'll get banned from selling a certain brand. Those are the problems that we trade for. Also, it's very difficult to know the authenticity of some of the items that you're obtaining. The sourcing and the relationship management is very tentative, right? And the profit margins are more predictable, but they are smaller, right? Like the ability to know what's going to happen is very different.
And from our reselling of products, we also see. I want to add that for anybody that's in the resale business, is that the brands, even when you're working in a direct relationship with them, like the president, we know the VPs of all the players in management changes, we all of a sudden don't like you on Amazon anymore because maybe we want to keep as more, or they think we can keep more.
They want to go direct. They hired my Amazon guy, and now they're going direct.
Yeah, see you, and so you have to be able to navigate that when a new management comes into one of these companies and they say, well, we don't think any of you guys are really worth our time. And just last week, I was talking to, I can't really say the name of the company, but I would say a multinational electronics brand that you would know. And circling back a little bit on that 1P topic, they're 1P, essentially selling direct to Amazon. They said to us point blank, they're not profitable like they want to be on Amazon. And the manager in charge for this multinational was flying to Seattle the following day to meet with their team and wanted to know what other options were there in the world of Amazon that they could do if they weren't happy. And there was an article, I don't know if you saw this on LinkedIn. Can you pull that article up? There's an article that Brian Porter of I believe is Simply Modern, he pointed out these perils of being 1P, and that he talks about the profitability again, that the 1P, the costs of selling, that they've increased in the last 3 years, mirrors what you were talking about. The fees are going up. Amazon will intentionally oversell. I'd never heard of this. So You have, in this case, they oversold 40,000 units last year. Holy smokes! Stop the presses just on that. The other problem, price scraping. This is one where it's really close to our heart because we see that the featured price should be $100, but your product is $175. So you must be a bad guy selling at 160. You're trying to gouge, but that's not really the right comparison. And then you open up
on eBay. We're gonna match it.
Yeah, or hey, look, you're comparing us to a product that's 3 years old and doesn't include all the other things that we've bundled with it, which is kind of our case. And they don't care. And
we
so
have an
now
AI engine that is cheaper just to follow, and we're going to work for the AI.
Oh, it's so frustrating. And so, yes, reselling can be good. It can also go off the rails. 1P can be good. It can also go off the rails. And that's where I think we need more discussion. That's why I love that you came on and you've given us this information, because people should have more of these open discussions about the difficulties of 1P, 3P, reselling, retail arbitrage. And it's not all Ferraris and Porsche. I don't even know the names of all these brands or all these cars. I'd take one, though. He wants to send me Kenzo, if you're listening, you want to offload one of those cars, I'll take it off your hands.
He'll trade you for some retail arbitrage.
No doubt. I want to jump into some tactics, because one of the things that you mentioned in your videos, like hijackers, competition, the fees, things change so rapidly on Amazon that it's hard to keep up. What advice do you have for folks that are on Amazon and want to keep up? What should they do?
So this is an easy thing to answer. A brand by themselves, and if they become an isolationist, will see this problem sometime in the next year or two. Whereas an agency like MAG, I see all of those problems on a daily basis across 400 accounts. And so it's easy for us to intermingle information and transfer it from point A to point B. All ships rise together, and go with a group in that sense. So either hiring an agency, joining a group of other Amazon sellers, mastermind or otherwise, hiring the right people to begin with. But at the very least, just following the supposed gurus and experts with Lambos on the internet and making sure you see what they're saying, because a lot of the people out there are transparent and do share their mistakes as well as their wins. And you can take from what you want, right? So if I go out and say, here's what I did, here are my results, you can decide for yourself. Do you want to replicate? Do you want to do something completely different and opposite? But there's a lot of good content out there. It's very difficult to navigate through that content. And that's where a lot of competitive advantage can be gained by having those relationships or by being an agency and just simply seeing it and being in the trenches. But this is the difference between blue ocean and red ocean strategies, right? So whether you're an agency or a brand listening to this, if you chase the red ocean, you're just going to copy what everybody else is doing. And that leads to commoditization and lower margins. But if you just go blue ocean and you ask customers, what do you want? You give it to them and then ask and confirm, did I give you what you wanted? That concept will work no matter what business you're running anywhere in the world. I'll impact that with another set of questions you could ask. What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What should we do more of? This framework is the core to everything that I do as a business owner. I should stop selling direct at my Age of Sage brand on Amazon. I should start doing some retail arbitrage. I should do more of my agency, right? That's where I came to those conclusions. And I had to ask myself those questions. I had to ask my customers those questions. And I had to ask those questions of general audience or potential customers as well.
And, I hear in that curiosity, and I've spoken to several. I spoke to the former Blockbuster CEO, a former BlackBerry president. You have to be curious. You have to ask yourself. You have to have, what's working, what's not working, and then be able to, reflect on those things and say, you know what, that's not working. We maybe have to sacrifice this and go and double down on what's really working. And that's the next piece that I want to jump into you about. If you were to look into that crystal ball, if you were to look into your crystal ball and you were to and you were to make some predictions about what's on the horizon, what does Stephen Pope see?
Sometimes it's good to look backwards to look forwards. So if we look back 10 years ago, I could sell rice cookers for 2 cents a click on PPC on Amazon. So if we look into the future, how can that help us? Well, you might get 2 cents a click on a different platform that is up and coming, right? So testing out the Temu, testing out the TikTok and the influencers, there's no question that there's going to be some sort of competing marketplace that you're going to want to pay attention to. So that's what I see in the future. I see more fees, more maturity, more profit gouging from Amazon. No question about that. But there's also going to be new opportunities, new platforms that come out, and you have to be ready. Now, that doesn't mean pivot 90% of your forces. It means take 5% and just dabble and test it out, right? I also think that we're going to see a lot of Amazon sellers drop out this year. And generally speaking, that could be good, that could be bad. We're also going to probably see a lot of those sellers replaced by more Chinese sellers. And that's generally bad for both the consumer and the selling community in the United States. And that's because the Chinese, they don't necessarily have the same incentives that we do. They're more focused on putting food on the table today, not a year from now. Very different culture and mentality, mindset, right? And when you receive the instructions for said technology products, they're in broken English, right? Like, and it's like, how do I follow these instructions, right? But you'll see that they'll sell them cheaper on Amazon. So we're going to see a lot more heavy hitting. Like right now, if we pulled up Amazon's search page, we typed in any single product, I guarantee you 30 to 50%, depending on the category, of those products are made in China. Obviously, not accounting for like grocery or supplements, maybe even supplements. Who knows at this point? But we're going to see a lot more competing factors from the Chinese. On the plus side, we're also going to see a bigger talent pool. Right. So we've seen a lot of the FBA people come and go, and they're looking for work. Right. Maybe they didn't go to college. Maybe they dropped out of their day job and they're tired of the grind. That talent pool is going to have to go somewhere. So they might join an agency. They might join your 3PL brand. They might do something along those lines. We're seeing countries like the Philippines, which is a service-oriented country, produce a lot of great talent. Right. So we've seen this at my Amazon guy. I have over 400 Filipinos that work for me. I just got back in February from visiting them and having a big annual conference. I went to all of the cool islands from El Nido to Boracay and everywhere in between. And there's just a lot of good talent that is developing and coming out to support the Amazon community. And the Philippines is just one example of many that we could cite. So I think we're going to have more people involved in supporting the sector, and it's been very hard to find talent historically, and I think it's getting a little bit easier. Is the demand for talent high? Yes, it's exceptionally high right now.
You know, we make no bones about it too. We have our fingers in that territory, and we love it. You know, we've gotten some really exceptional people out of the Philippines that have done amazing work with it, and there's no way we could do a tenth of what we're doing today without my team or teams of people that are working with us. So I want to give big props. Hold up a second to my team from over there, my Filipinos. A
little anecdote. I was on a sales call last Friday, and I had a Filipino account executive who did the sales process, brought me in for the close. And on the call, the brand said, "Hey, Steven, I hear you outsource." And I'm like, is that a bad thing? Do you like this account executive? They're from the Philippines. And I don't know if they were shocked by that or not, to be honest. But like, yeah, I embrace it. And quite frankly, I asked a couple more questions. I was like, so have you hired Americans before? And he's like, yeah. And I said, are they loyal? And he said, no. and then I said, you heard from her voice on our call today. Do you think she's loyal to MAG? And he's like, yeah, I do. And I said, do you want loyal people working your brand and account? And he's like, yeah. And I said, great. You want to hire us? And he said, yeah. So,
yes. It's a no-brainer at that point. No, I think you're on target here. You need a team. If you're climbing that pyramid that we talked about, you have to recognize here, my weakness is in this area. I need people that can work in here and be the experts there, while I focus, like in your case, you're focusing on the agency, focusing on teaching. You know, you've got over 2,000 videos on YouTube. That alone is a feat. I mean, you're like a teacher. I mean, you're telling people, you're instructing people, and you know, you went out, also got a company to support you in that effort as well. You know, you went and got a company that's in the teaching and education space and training, doing webinars. So you know, you recognize that's your strength, and that to me is I'm always debating, like, should we double down on what we're strong, or try to put a little more effort on what we're weak? But hearing from you,
it's hard to decide, right? Like,
yes,
but what I've learned is that if I talk to the people that are around me and I ask those basic questions, what should we stop, do more of? We can figure out the answers to those tough questions. But you have to go deep. You have to ask why more than one time, right? Like 5 times to find the rightest answer in many instances, right? So what I discovered over the last 6 years of running a $20 million agency is that I was, and always have been, an education company. And so the branding behind that dictates how we make our decisions. That's why I came out and said I sold my Amazon brand. I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to reveal that.
No,
right?
You didn't.
I didn't. But I chose to, because it's on brand. That's what an educational company would do, right? It makes decisions so much easier. I didn't even have to think about it. Now, was I embarrassed? Was I wondering how it would come across? You betcha I was. But
I know you're getting it from both sides. People are saying you're brave and bold, and people are saying you suck, and how can I take advice from you?
Why would I ever hire you? You can't even do it, right? And I'm like, he's got a point, right? Like, but at the same time, maybe you should hire the guy that failed because he knows how to prevent your failure, and he'll save you thousands of dollars, if not more, right? There's articulations that can be made, but at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. I don't have to convince anybody. For those that watch, they can make their own minds up. And I know, statistically speaking, that if I'm authentic, if I'm myself, my tribe will find me. And that's exactly what happened when I put out all this content. The people that apply to MAG to work for me are like, man, you really helped me at my last job. I didn't have any SOPs. I had no support, no training, but I found your video after video after video. And I'm like, perfect, come join us. And they joined us. And then they're super happy. And the tribe just builds upon itself like that. And so the hat that I appreciate the most is most definitely the hat of professor or teacher. And some of the greatest people who have ever lived on this earth would probably answer that question the same way. And so I think that there is a passion and a love in being able to express knowledge, take complicated, dynamic situations and simplify them to the point of understanding. And the greatest teachers that we've ever seen on earth can do that. And if I can be even a small portion of that exercise, then I'm reaching my own personal enlightenment that I seek. And it keeps me going, right? Because if you don't have a reason to get out of bed, theoretically, I've already hit the I win button, right? Like, I've bought the dream house. I have the nice cars. I've got 5 kids in a pile. I've got money in the bank. I have trust fund kids at this point. What else is there out there for me? But there is something that is far greater than all of that. And that is teaching and helping others achieve their own personal enlightenment. And that's what keeps me going.
And I don't even know what to say to that, because that's what we all strive for internally, right? We want to have that kind of moment where we're like, what am I doing this for, right? And you've gotten to that point where I'm doing this to teach other people, and like you said, you know, if I failed, learn from me, learn from my failures, because now I know what not to do, and I can share that information so that other people don't go down this black hole. You know who would agree with you on?
Or if they do, at least they know ahead of time it's a black hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard Stephen Bartlett. He has a podcast called Dire CEO. He says, I embrace failure and learn from it. And if we're going to fail, we fail fast so that we know how to iterate. Right. I want to learn how to do that quickly so that we get to the thing that's going to make us really good. And I think I think you're doing a huge service to a lot of people. I'm going to tell you, I walked around my house. This is no exaggerate. I walked around my house. I think you said that on a Friday or Thursday. I can't remember when you put that out, or I saw it on a Friday. All weekend, I walked around saying to my wife, "I can't believe this." For a number of reasons, I can't, what am I going to do? He's a guy that's in the trenches. He knows what's going on. He's aware of what's happening, and it just was struck me like, wait a minute, this is a huge learning opportunity for a lot of people, and I want people to hear that message. And I would encourage you, if you're still listening to this on the audio side or on the video side, to go check that full 10-minute clip that Stephen posted on his YouTube channel, My Amazon Guy. Go listen to it because it's very informative, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Stephen, is there anything else you want to leave us with?
Find your why. There's a good book, Start With Why, that can really help you figure out what the why is that gets you up and going. Because the moment you lose your why, your whole purpose and meaning evaporates, and you'll start making terrible decisions. And I've seen this, right? So there's been some higher profile graduations from my company recently. Some people that have ran my podcast are no longer at MAG, and they're going off to do their next thing. They've graduated from my Amazon Guy. Since I'm an education company, I can say that. And it's, I've seen some people that graduate lost their why. Some that graduate found a bigger why and decided to go chase that why, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't have your own why, you're going to be a lost soul, right? It would be like coming to Earth, knowing you have no purpose and no meaning beyond that. So whether your why is personal, spiritual, whatever it is, you need to find it, and you have to exercise that why on a daily basis, or you're going to lose purpose, meaning, and potentially a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment.
I can't disagree with you. You said, I got to ask you one more question, because this is the question that I really wanted to ask you, and I lost my train of thought following you here. What's the number one reason when clients leave MAG and it doesn't work out? I think I've heard you say this somewhere, but recently you changed. Why they all of a sudden they leave and crash and burn?
So that's pretty much the heart of your inquiry today, and that is profitability. 43% of clients that leave my Amazon Guy do so for financial reasons. They do not replace me with another agency. And in almost 80% of those instances, of the 43% that exit my Amazon Guy as a client, are not in business 24 months later. Wow. And when we pulled the data and came to those conclusions, we were really blown away by that. Right? Flying Swine Seasonings, I have a great testimonial video from him, no longer sells on Amazon, right? We went in, we helped him, we grew him. He made some other business decisions. It fell apart. We exited, and then he no longer existed. Also in the grocery category, ironically, with low margin.
Wow.
Who would have thought?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's what happens. It's very surprising. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will say, "Oh, Stephen, they just tell you it's financial, but then they hire the next agency." And I'm here to tell you they do not. We track this. We have really great relationships, very transparent both ways, and we encourage our clients. We relentlessly ask for feedback, fast, radically candid feedback. And we would know if they went and hired somebody else. We can tell. We can see where they're going and whatnot. And there is a small portion that do that, but by and large, 43%, it's due to financial. 25%, it's because MAG wasn't good enough. We overpromised and underdelivered. And then the percentages break down from there and get significantly smaller. There is a small portion that go to another agency. Yes, that happens. But by and large, financial. And by the way, I don't think this is unique to the Amazon industry. This is small and medium business vector, right? Small and medium businesses, they pop up really fast. They go under just as quickly. You could look at the restaurant industry, same thing. For every 3 restaurants that pop up, only 1 exists 2-3 years later, right? Very small portion of success comes in that. Now, the blessing is that it doesn't cost very much to fail on Amazon, right? You could spend $10,000 testing your private label idea and get the definitive answer on whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. You couldn't open a restaurant for $10,000. That's for sure.
No,
right?
you can't.
You
Probably
can't
not even a pop-up.
Free for $10,000 in the United States right now.
Not anymore.
No. So that's why I am very open and honest about my experience on Amazon, but it's not passive income.
100%. Stephen Pope, I wish we had 4 hours because I want to pick your brain. Can we upload your brain to ChatGPT and just have it stream out what you already know? I know you've put out so much content, but there's a lot like ask Stephen a question. I know that's what you did forever. Ask Stephen a question, and but so much comes up. So
I hate to tell you, man, but I started my own ChatGPT doing exactly what you just defined, and I only got 2 customers. Nobody cared what I thought. Nobody cared what AI Stephen thought. We loaded
look, you failed fast.
Yeah, we failed fast. Way faster than my $2 million that I wasted on a hybrid software that I tried to recreate Asana Helium 10 and Time Doctor all in one spot. Terrible idea. Don't do that. But there are some fast failures that I'm proud of, and that was one of them.
Well, I'm glad you told me. Maybe we should have become a client because there's a lot there. And maybe there's a different way. You know what? Things will change here very quickly because AI is moving so much faster. Maybe we leave that for next time because there's a bunch of AI stuff happening as well.
But I will tell you this. I've had 700 people pay me $50 to ask me a question at myamazonguy.com/coaching. And hey, so there are people
they
that
want
care.
The real thing.
Yeah.
They want the real thing. And then
no AI. Nobody bought the AI.
I'm not happier. Yeah, nobody, not yet. Not yet till you could probably wear those big old goggles and see Stephen on the other side. And it's something like him, his likeness that actually is real. There's a lot happening. You could imitate a voice. It's not 100%. We're playing around with that as well. Like, could I have
every AI possible imaginable? It's not quite ready. It's super close.
It's
quite
close.
Ready.
It's not there yet. And maybe I could just have me on 24/7, just spitting out podcasts that way, but it's not there yet.
Just have the AI run my company for me while I'm at it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Stephen Pope, breaking it down today. What the Tech, breaking it down. What it's really
podcast name.
Oh my goodness, you're too much. You're too much here. You know what? You get a clap for today. You get a second clap.
Most applause ever. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And I really enjoyed you coming on a second time and really sharing your story because, again, it's worth telling. It's worth being real and saying to people, you can do this. Go in your eyes wide open. You can fail and restart, but at least it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Just like you said, look at the aggregators. If it was so easy, they would not be in this predicament because theoretically they have the smart people on their side. They know how to move the spreadsheets around, but it's so much harder than it looks. So Stephen Pope, I really, really appreciate you coming on today. And if you want to know, absolutely, anytime, my friend, if you want to know why former Amazonian Nick Gazar said these words to me about you have to be profits obsessed, you want to go check out that episode on how to survive on Amazon and why he uttered those words. You can check that out anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast, as well as check that episode out on YouTube. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank my guest, Stephen Pope, for coming on today on What the Tech. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.